Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Saturday, November 21st, 2015, around 5:03 in the morning, Billerica, Massachusetts. Back again for the second video blog of the day because I'm going to be so busy today and it might not be time to do one at night, so I'm doing the second one today, this morning and stuff, and this might be the last video blog of the day, and there's already not too much news to report because I reported it in the first video blog of the day. And here is the second video blog of the day. It's the personality profile. Today's personality profile is game show producer and game show host and songwriter and former television executive and author Chuck Barris. Chuck Barris was one of the most successful game show producers of the 60s and 70s. He added more youth and more humor to game shows. He had a string of game show hits and stuff. Later on in his life, he became a very successful author. Chuck was born and he grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He went to Dress School Institution of Technology, and he wrote for the school newspaper. That was the start of a writing career here he would have. And he graduated in 1993. Then he started to work in the entertainment business. Chuck first worked as a page at the NBC studios in New York City and Rockefeller Center. Many famous stars started out as an NBC page, especially some people in the world of game shows, including Gene Rabin and Peter Marshall, among others. And then Chuck moved back to Philadelphia. He worked backstage at American Bandstand as like a stage person and stuff. And he got to know the music business and stuff like that with American Bandstand. Back then, American Bandstand was just a local Philadelphia show hosted by Dick Clark, the world's oldest teenager. Then, after getting the knowledge of the music business, Chuck moved to Hollywood and he became a music producer and he wrote a lot of songs and stuff like that. And he was getting more powerful and stuff like that. In the early 1960s, Chuck became the vice president of daytime programming for the ABC network, and he had a lot of ideas for to pitch ideas for game shows and music stuff and other stuff, but that was a little bit of a conflict of interest. Then he resigned as ABC's president of daytime operations, and he formed his own production company with music and game shows. Game shows back in the 50s and the 60s were they featured contestants who were middle-aged and stuff like that, and it was somewhat humor in it from time to time on certain game shows. But Chuck Barris had a lot of game show ideas that he pitched to the networks. He formed Chuck Barris Productions, and the game shows that he produced, he had a lot of more humor, and plus the contestants were of the younger generations, 18 to 34. Chuck Barris's first game show hit was The Dating Game that ran from 1965 through 1973. Then it got revived several times in syndication. It was hosted by Jim Lane. The Dating Game was a bachelor or the bachelorette had to pick 3 potential dates, and if which they liked them, they would go out on a date with them. The questions were double entendre. It was very funny and stuff, and it was a great hit. In 1966, Chuck Barris produced the Newlywed Game for ABC, and that lasted 8 years on ABC, hosted by Bob Eubanks. It was married couples less than a year. Most of them were young, early to mid-20s and stuff, and the Newlywed Game became a big hit for ABC as well. And also, Chuck produced other game shows for ABC, including How's Your Mother-in-Law, The Dream Girl of 1967, and The Family Game, among others, but they weren't as big hits as The Newlywed Game or The Dating Game. And also Chuck hosted the produced a game show in syndication called The Game for about a year and stuff. And he also produced the Parent Game in syndication for a year as well. And also, Chuck had some other, he was still in the music business. He produced a new version of Your Hit Parade in the 70s for syndication. It was a revived version. Also, Chuck produced a variety show called Operation Entertainment for ABC and the Bobby Vinton Show. In the early 1970s, Chuck Barris acquired the rights to revive a classic game show in the 50s and the 60s called Treasure Hunt, which was hosted by Jan Murray, which was a straight question and answer game show, which had a little humor in it. But when Chuck revived it, he made it more of a comedy game show, and it was kind of like Let's Make a Deal. It was hosted by Jeff Edwards. Treasure Hunt actually had women contestants and stuff, and the skits on Treasure Hunt was so funny and stuff. That was a big hit for Chuck Barris Productions for many years in syndication. But the biggest hit for Chuck Barris was the Gong Show, which lasted 3 years on NBC. Eventually, it was a syndicated hit. It was a spoof of amateur shows and stuff like that, talent shows. And Chuck Barris hosted it himself. He called him Chucky Baby and stuff. And they had a lot of great acts in there, including the Unknown Comic and my favorite, Gene, the dancing machine. Do 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 and the Gone Show was so funny. If the acts were horrible, they would gone them. And in the late 1970s, Chuck had a few more game show hits, including Camouflage, the $1.98 beauty show, and Three's a Crowd, which was a very, very controversial show. It was a game show that, even though it got big hits, a lot of television stations stopped running it because of the questions with reviewing and stuff. This was the late 1970s, and some of the stuff was taboo to talk about. Kind of a little bit of a 4-1 of what was shown on Jerry Springer and Maury Povich for a game show that was that devastated Chuck Barris Productions. Eventually he took all of his game shows out of syndication and stuff. In 1980, Chuck Barris directed and starred in a Gone Show movie, which was an absolute flop. It did not last a week in the box offices because it was panned and stuff. It was just a very big blow for Chuck Barris, and basically after that he kind of disappeared for a while from Hollywood and stuff. Eventually he sold his production company to Sony Pictures. He got a lot of money for it, and afterwards, for many years, he left the United States to live in France and stuff like that. And then he became an author. He wrote several books. One of the books he wrote about was he claimed he was a CIA agent who worked for the government, and he killed people. He was an assassin and stuff to kill people and stuff in the late 1960s and early 1970s and stuff. And that book became a bestseller called Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, and eventually became a movie in 2003, which was directed by George Clooney and stuff. But the CIA said Chuck Barris was never employed by them at any time ever and stuff like that. I don't believe he ever worked for the CIA and stuff like that. It was probably just for him to make money and stuff like that. He wrote a lot of other books, including Bad Grass Never Dies, Quiz Show, Game Show Kane, and others. He wrote a book in 2010 about his only daughter, Delia, who passed away years early and stuff like that. It was a pretty good book and stuff like that. And also, Chuck Barris is a survivor of lung cancer and stuff, and he still makes appearances here and there talking about his game show experiences and being a very successful author. So he had a very successful career in Hollywood as a game show producer and other stuff, and he's kind of a little bit of the forerunner to reality television for all the stuff he put on game shows and stuff. So he's still alive and kicking, and that's about it on this. And I don't know if I'll be doing another video blog today because I'm going to be very busy, but tomorrow maybe 2 to 3 video blogs will happen and stuff. And they will be about the top 10 sports athletes to win number 17. Now, another video blog will be about my review of Survivor Series 1992. And the third and final video blog of the night will be the personality profile. It will be about the late great game show host Jeff Edwards. Like you are. Keep calm, and I'm a Julie Brennan guy. Molly Rosenblatt of Fox 35 Rocks and has nice legs. Elizabeth Hart is so stunning. Amy Swenzy is the best. Barbara Gibbs of ABC 11 Raleigh, North Carolina rocks. And in the words of the late great Peter Tamakin game show host, be careful about picking up a third Lammy in round 1. Goodbye, everybody. See you tomorrow.